Here I am again, up late and browsing YouTube videos, like you might be doing right now while you're listening to this, where I found a thought-provoking video, which led to a comment that turned into a long comment, which became a thought-provoking comment, and about Jurassic Park, of all things. This got me thinking about some of the comments I have made on YouTube videos, particularly the long-winded ones. Of course, I like to think that I'm making some kind of grand or intriguing point in my ramblings, but then again, I am a dreamer. Like many people out there, I have that dream that something I say or do or experience will be significant. We all have had that thought process at some point or another, I think. But anyway, before I let these words carry me away, I want to read parts of that comment, probably a lot of it, perhaps elaborate a bit. This might even become some kind of regular content on this channel. So for a little context to begin with, this is my response to a video that discusses what Jurassic Park might have been like if it was rated R. And the beginning, I basically just agree that, I would be interested to see an R-rated, or more so a remake of Jurassic Park, more than just to see what it would have been like R-rated. Some main points that would be in the new one would be more faithful to the book, such as the raptors escaping the island, a better version of John Hammond's character being more of a megalomaniac and more about the money than the enjoyment of the children. More about Ian Malcolm's character being more of a conservationist and an activist than just a quirky mathematician. And Grant as well being more of a naturalist than just being Sam Neill. Nothing against his performance, just more faithful to the book, as I said. These are all things that made me love the book, and this is where I kind of started tangenting off to quote myself. These are all parts that really made me love the book rather than the grisly deaths and such. Think about the contrast between intellectual messages about humanity and the primal feelings on the death/survival are the best parts of the book. And these are what I would, like to see in any kind of remake of the film. I think I'm just going to read word for word what I wrote. To tangent a little bit, it's like the realization that a lot of people my age, older end of the millennial spectrum, are having in the past years about orcas. They're not all friendly and personable creatures like Willy from the movie Free Willy. Orcas are the apex predator in the oceans and arguably the top predator in all of the animal kingdom, aside from humans, of course. They are beautiful, smart, and social creatures that survive by eating other animals. I'm sure a lot of people have seen or heard videos of their hunting tactics, or the various documentaries and things that have gone on about releasing them from captivity in recent years. But when you put it like that, it doesn't sound all that bad. Hunting tactics. But when you hear it described as stalking seals or drowning baby gray whales, it humanizes them. But they are just animals, just like humans are, trying to survive the best way they know how. Now, I brought this up because at this point in human history where everything is starkly contrasted, a lot of black and white, and in the chaos of humanity, we're trying to find some kind of meaning. This book, Jurassic Park, is such a relevant message about basic humanity, which is found near the end. And, for anybody who hasn't read the book, please do. Spoiler, not major spoiler, but enough that just go read the book. When they're in the helicopter at the end, and they have just finished the scene in the raptor's nest, and watching the island being bombed as they all carried away, and they're trying to feel some kind of sense of I survived, I'm alive. I always get just vivid imagery about human nature regarding the island. In the book, they bomb the shit out of it. They just destroy the entire thing with the military. They see it as potentially dangerous. Therefore, it needs to be obliterated. If you think about it, a lot of the movements that are going on today have that same kind of black and white mentality. The extremes of all of this stuff is what we seem to focus on, whether it's on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on the news, all these things that we hear and read and see. That's what we treat as full reality, when in fact, real life is a series of events, big and small. There are two quotes that I put in this comment that I think are sometimes get kind of lost in the world of entertainment, whether just people don't know about them or they get lost in the spectacle of something. The first is from the TV show House. Dr. House says to a patient, "They're out there, doctors, lawyers, postal workers. Some of them are doing great. Some of them are doing lousy. Are you going to base your whole life on who you get stuck in a room with?" And the patient that he's in a room with says to him, "I'm going to base this moment on who I'm stuck in a room with." It's what life is. It's a series of rooms, and who we get stuck in those rooms with adds up to what our lives are. I've always loved this quote. I've, always been a big fan for the outlandishness of it and, the sometimes real humanistic moments that come from, people like doctors and nurses and that have to deal with some of the most terrible things humans have to go through. And the second quote is from Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. Captain Jack Sparrow and Captain Barbossa are standing on a beach talking, and Barbossa says to Jack, "The world used to be a bigger place." And Jack responds, "The world's still the same. There's just less in it." It's a very simplistic statement, and some would even say kind of naive, but if you just think about the basics of it, it's very true. Sometimes people say the world is getting smaller, but I think Jack puts it very well that, it's not getting smaller at all. It's just, there's less realness, I think, in the world. But, that's, I think, another talk for another time. So I brought it back around, and that Jurassic Park, in its book form, is a very good message. There's some really good messages in the book that I think get lost a little bit in the movie because, it was done by Steven Spielberg, and he's a wonderful filmmaker. He makes great films for, a lot of escapism and just, something fun to go see a movie about. But in doing that with Jurassic Park, I think he missed out on these vital messages about humanity that are in the book. And I think that a remake of the movie, adhering more to these messages and making it more about the humanity of Jurassic Park and what goes on in there versus just, oh, look, dinosaurs and they're moving and they're eating people. Because, that's not what the book is really about. That's just the setting that it's set in. And I think all of the characters, in their own ways, face humanity. But I think the most important one is probably the message that, again, Ian Malcolm says. He has so many good quotes from both the book and the movie. Obviously, some of them are slightly different. But the one from the book where he says, "Scientists are actually preoccupied with accomplishment. So they are focused on whether they can do something. They never stop to ask if they should do something." That's very significant, and I wish more people would, sit and ask that question either of themselves, of people they know, or just of the world in general. If you haven't read Jurassic Park, I highly recommend it. It's a good read. It's a long read because it's very technical and goes a lot more into details, obviously, because it's a book. But it's definitely worth the time. I've read it many times myself. I may actually go and read it again sometime soon. So I think on that note, I will leave it. If you've made it through this, I applaud you, as I actually said in my comments. To paraphrase, the one of the messages from both the book and the movies is you found a way.